Hey guys, I'm once again joined by my friend Jeremy, and we're continuing our reviews of Universal's Mummy series with 1944's The Mummy's Ghost, the fourth film in the Mummy series, and the third film of the Kharis cycle of the Mummy series. What did you think of The Mummy's Ghost?
It's alright. I really wasn't keeping track of the story or the characters, but it was entertaining.
Yeah, I think I might have liked this a little bit better than Mummy's Tomb, but not by much. I mean, the movie's literally an hour long, yet it kind of feels longer. Like, both this and Mummy's Tomb I just thought were kind of, I hate to use the term boring, but just like, yeah, kind of dull. You know, they're kind of like dull movies, if we're being honest. But this movie, I will say one thing in this movie's favor. It took some interesting risks that you don't typically see in movies from this time. So, the plot of The Mummy's Ghost, the evil high priest from the last two movies, sends another young protege to America to retrieve the bodies of Kharis and Princess Ananka. Kharis ends up coming back to life and killing a few people, and eventually in the movie, Kharis and this priest start going after this girl who turns out to be the reincarnation of Princess Ananka. I will say this, I do think Lon Chaney Jr., I think he was able to emote a little bit more through that makeup than he was in the last film, like especially that scene where Kharis is freaking out after the mummy of Princess Ananka disintegrates. Like, you see him, like, smashing all the shit in the museum. Like, I feel like they gave Lon Chaney a little bit more to do as the mummy in this movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, you have John Carradine in this movie. He adds a certain presence.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, John Carradine was a fantastic actor. You also see the main antagonist from Mummy's Hand, and he was sort of the overarching antagonist of Mummy's Tomb. You see him come back in the beginning, again, sort of as the overarching antagonist of this movie, the character played by George Zucco. These movies do have a relatively decent continuity at this point. I mean, I definitely noticed, and I think the last movie did this too, they use a lot of music, I think from The Wolfman, and some other Universal films.
Yeah, I noticed that too. They do use that score a lot in this movie.
In a way, these mummy movies kind of fall into the same trap that the later Universal Frankenstein movies did, where the mummy himself is not really much of a character. He's more of like sort of a cipher for, like, you know, whatever evil priest they bring into the movie who controls the mummy. Kind of like how in, like, Son of Frankenstein and Ghost of Frankenstein, the Frankenstein monster was more of just a puppet for Igor in those movies. And then, of course, in stuff like House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, they also didn't really do much with that character. Like, I feel like these mummy movies are kind of falling into the same pattern that the Frankenstein series was at this point.
Yeah, you could say that.
And as Jeremy and I alluded to, the ending of this movie is honestly kind of depressing. So in the movie, you have this girl who turns out to be the reincarnation of Princess Ananka, and instead of saving her at the end, she turns into a mummy at the end, and then her and Kharis sink into quicksand, and yeah, like we said, it's a pretty bleak ending for a horror film around this time.
Yeah, it's very bleak. It's very depressing. It reminded me of the ending of 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's also a very bleak and depressing ending.
So yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to say about The Mummy's Ghost. It's decent, not great by any stretch of the imagination, but if you want to kill an hour, I would say check it out.
Yeah, I would say that too.
So that was our review of The Mummy's Ghost, and our next movie review will be on The Mummy's Curse.